Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Hello, everybody. It's been a while since I've been here. Andrew has apparently brought in his skills of how he influences the Canadians, which, by the way, that's all that happened. It wasn't how they played. Um, so yeah, hi everybody. For those tuning in, the Habs lost 4-0 to the Minnesota Wild because what else is new? Andrew, how are we feeling?
Not amazing. That sucked. I that was just depressing to watch
Hmm.
because you watch them play. Like, it's not like they played terrible, right?
Yeah.
It was a boring game, but it was a boring game
Mhm.
because it was Minnesota Wild hockey, and
Yeah.
I guess they weren't able to like find a way through that. But
Yeah.
it's just another game where I just feel like they deserved more.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt like that. What game was it? It is the in the last 2 games. So, just for context, folks, I haven't been able to watch the Habs as close as I have been. So honestly, good time to because I barely caught the end of what happened at the end of last game. But we'll talk about that in second period. I think first we want to talk a little bit just about the game. And by the game, I mean everything around the game, not the game itself, because there's not a lot to talk about. Um, I know you wanted to talk about something, Andrew. Would you like to go right ahead and start us off?
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna save that for when we're in there. First, I'll do the hyperdrive hockey thing. So before we get too deep
Sure.
into breaking down the game, and I think Kay and I kind of talked about it before we became started the show, that we're probably going to do two segments tonight and go straight to the Q&A because frankly, we'd rather talk with you guys than about this game.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah.
a great one, and we need to move on from it after two, I think. But if you enjoy Game Over Montreal, which I'm sure many of you do, because frankly, the folks who found us so far, you're our hardcores, right? You're our day ones. You're our ride or dies. That's who you are. But if you enjoy this show, I know that you will enjoy Hyperdrive Hockey, hosted by Max and Daff and Kev. They are three amazing folks here from Montreal, and they are francophones who are broadcasting for the first time in their second language, in English, and bringing their creativity, that Quebec flavor, to the table, covering the NHL at large. And it's really, really fun. There was a new episode today. If you haven't checked it out yet, Thursdays are the day where they get to do their sorry, not sorry segment, or maybe it's not even sorry, I think is what it's called, actually. I always
Yes.
confuse it. But it's two game over hosts that come in, or one to two, and they have the choice to tear down or build up a topic. And then they kind of debate it as a panel. And it's super fun. It's super like unserious, but also serious. We had a clip the other day where Zach was saying that he thought that Team Canada was going to finish fourth at the Four Nations tournament, which is a bit far for me, but
Yeah.
it's a good time to throw out some hot takes out there with friends and then debate it
People were not
afterwards.
thrilled with that one, I'll tell you
No,
that.
no, I mean, the one thing you can't say about Canadians is that Hockey Canada is going to mess things up, right?
Yeah.
And not
Yeah.
like they have a history of that. But yeah, I guess if you wanted me to do like my little rant that I had planned to talk about while I was watching this game is, you know, I have a different perspective, I think, on this stretch of Canadians hockey than a lot of other folks because a lot of the wins happened when I was kind of taking a break over the
Mhm.
holidays, dealing with some family stuff. And I haven't been able to be the one in the host chair for like any of the wins during this awesome stretch. I've seen some of them and I've
Mhm.
watched all the highlights and everything, but I've seen a lot more of the losses and
Mhm.
how they've played in those losses. Some of them not great. The Detroit game, for example. Some of them really great. Like I would say the last game, they played very, very strong and deserved better against the Jets. But
Mhm.
what I think of when I'm looking through this period of time in Montreal Canadiens hockey, and I'm not trying to be dramatic and like create something out of nothing. I honestly do feel this way that this moment where they're playing relatively well and everything's kind of going against them, like even Dobesh now is letting in three, instead of being unbeatable.
Mhm.
Montembeau's continued to be inconsistent. Even when he has great games, there's games where they allow 4. The
Yeah.
offense has been pop gun at times. You know, this moment, if it continues for a little bit longer, is going to be the crucible through which we see if the character of this team is that of winners. And
I see. Okay.
it's not a situation where I'm saying we will find this out if they make the playoffs. That's not what I'm saying. They don't need to make the playoffs for this season to be a success. What I
Mhm.
want to see is what I saw in the third period tonight, which was nothing went well for them and they just kept going. They put their
Yeah.
heads down. Not everybody was the same level of successful at it, but everyone was pushing towards a goal. There was full
Mhm.
send the whole way, and I want to see that the rest of the season. Not saying
Yeah.
they have to be at their absolute peak best every game, but I want to see that they continue to push and believe in themselves and know that they can do it, because that's what's going to breed a championship down the line. I don't want to see the hope break. We've
Yeah.
seen that kind of happen at times over the rebuild years where they're tanking. We're out of that stage right now. I want to
Mhm.
see
Mhm.
what they're made out of, and I think we're seeing that. And I'm taking the positive of that out of these losses.
Yeah. I think I know we want to touch on it a little bit more in our second segment, but I think the road trip comes at a really good time right now. Obviously, it's always good to play in front of fans, but I think this group could use some time, kind of boys' time, just team building, maybe a little bit. Um, Even if that's, not a day off necessarily. God just says trauma bond, which, yeah, yeah. I called her Kaja. I'm sorry. I meant Kaya. I'm sorry. I'm really tired right now. Sorry, Kaya. Um, Apparently, only thing I can do today is read. Uh, but yeah, so I think it's a good time. I think that this game was a hard one to watch, as
Yep.
all, Minnesota Wild games are. Um, all of them. I'm not even talking about versus the Habs because I do watch more of them than I would like to,
Right, because you
because
watched the
I
Avalanche.
yes, exactly. So I have to watch a lot of them, but it's just this and you don't even have Kaprizov, so you don't even have like that offensive talent that you can hope to see a lot of. Because we didn't see any like beautiful goals today, even like obviously none of any goal would have been beautiful. It came off a Habs stick, but we didn't even see any nice goals from the Wild. We just saw a lot of just the kind of hockey that the Wild play. Now, that last one, or not the 4th one, but the 3rd one was definitely a moment where, that one felt hard,
Yep.
that one felt really hard, and I thought that that might take the air out of the team completely, but to be honest, like you said about how they're gonna respond, one of the things I liked is I felt like they came back and kept trying, just
100%.
because that first little, like, what was it, 5 minutes that didn't like, great pressure, they were doing so good, and then just, something happened, I honestly could not tell you what. I think I already blocked that game out of my mind. And it completely, they got a goal scored against instead of Fleury, doing some great of the stuff that he does. And it just could have been so easy for them to completely give up, and they didn't. And I think they're I'm proud of them. I'm proud of them, especially because this has to have been a hard game. Um, I wanna talk a little bit more about the Kaiden Guhle injury because I, wasn't on last game, which was honestly probably for the best.
Yeah, we
Uh,
didn't. We don't need you out there crying on stream. It was already tough enough. My God,
Watching it,
that
yeah,
poor
you must
kid.
have it's rough, man, it's really hard, and it was such a freak injury. I
Yeah,
do have a rant in mind about the injury prone thing,
yeah,
that
it
I
pisses me
will
off.
yeah, it pisses me off. You know what? While we're here, let's talk about it. Let's talk
Let's
about
do
it.
it.
Um, I think that there is such thing as injury prone, right? Like, and by that, it's a reoccurring injury in the same area of the body or the same kind of injury. That's injury prone, right? Like that's a guy that you're getting. That's like I forget what injury it is, but it's once you have it, you keep having it again and again. It's
Groin,
one of the
back,
all
a
of
lot of
these.
foot injury. As I get older, it's like everything. I was actually joking around with a bunch of my friends from high school earlier today that like you get to like 35 and it's like every bad choice that you made your entire life growing up, you're like, oh yeah, you did like a weird knee drop on a hardwood floor when you were 7. Now you wake up and one day your knee just hurts a little bit, like just forever.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't think a guy like Kaiden Guhle is there yet.
No.
It's like you do have injury prone players. I do not think a lot of the times when somebody uses the term injury prone, it is completely
Mhm.
misused. Um, on the Habs, I think first of all we have to keep in mind that they, as a team, struggled with the injuries, right? Um, it's been a lot better this year. I think they've been really good about letting guys actually heal. Their timelines seem to be a little bit more accurate, which is a good sign to me about the medical staff. But I'm so if I have to see anybody call Kaiden Guhle injury prone again, I will fight them. I will fight them. It's been so much bad luck. And it's people have all these criticisms about how he okay, Andrew. So uh the other day on the internet, I saw someone say that he skated wrong and therefore he got hurt, which is an insane I Andrew!
I I mean
Andrew!
I guess are they saying that he rolled his ankle on the way into the boards? Because like yes, but also
That's not
players
what
fall in the NHL. They're on skates.
No, they just said it's the way he skates. No other explanation. It's the way he skates.
Like I've seen that as an explanation for an injury, but it's like Alex Galchenyuk skated with a very wide stance and
Yeah,
suffered several major knee injuries because of that wide stance that he was never able to really correct. That is a legitimate criticism of a player who became prone to injury because of the way that they played, right? But
yeah.
Kaiden Guhle, yes, is the
He
way he skates, and that's why a skate randomly went up and cut his quadricep. Like,
Yeah. Then you
people
have the
need to take a
appendix
chill pill.
thing at the start of the year, which is like, what can he do about that? Like, is there a vitamin he's supposed to take? Can the almond moms tell him what he can do? Can like the beige mamas give him something to do? Like what? It's not it's just terrible luck, and I feel bad for him. I feel bad for Carrier because he's lost his work spouse,
Yeah.
and that's gotta be hard for him. I feel bad for the other guys because, Jack Guy gave an interview where he was like, "Yeah, Pez made lasagna and I picked up steaks and we went over to Gouli's house and we had dinner with him." And it was I know. I know, and I was like, my poor boys." Like, I sent it to my best friend, no context, "My poor boys." And yeah, as Kaya says, "Brother, they are on ice." Exactly. It's just ice. It's not he didn't do anything wrong. It was just time and place, and it sucks that it was him. Not that it would have been great if it was anybody else, but at least it was at least the Heineman thing was, like, funny. Could it not have been something funny? Like, could he I mean, I don't want him hit by a car, but, like, a cut? Like, that's hard. That could have been really dangerous. I'm just glad that, like, he seemed to be, like, I can't tell if he's okay, but, he's there and seems like, it's nothing surgery went through, whatever it was. I'm just glad, but I think it's really unfair to call a guy injury prone just because he has bad luck. You can say he has bad luck, but he's not injury prone. And I say this because somebody did say that Elliot Friedman said that Kane Guhle can't stay healthy. And I don't know if he meant it as in he just has bad luck. Because honestly, I was so annoyed that I didn't even really listen. I just saw that somebody said that. But
It's a
if it's
crappy way
as
to
in
phrase it.
Exactly. Like, it's like his fault he can't get
Yeah.
healthy. Like, okay, yeah. I just need to get that out of the way because I'm so annoyed with that. I'm so annoyed with that conversation. And if we're gonna talk about injury prone, I don't know, is the entire team injury prone? Just because it's been bad luck for a bunch of them is like, it again, just sucks for him. I feel bad for him. I feel bad for me. As always, I am the victim here. Um, but I feel bad for him. I feel bad for the team. It's clearly affecting them. Um, but I think it's gonna be interesting just on ice to see what Marty does to replace him. How did you feel about the Jack and Hudson pair?
I thought Jack Eye had trouble at times keeping up. Like just reading the play, there were times where he was making poor choices. But it's first time together. I'm trying not to judge too harshly. I thought at the end of the game, like by the end, he was much better. Hudson looked pretty strong tonight as well, which is always good to see. I mean, just to circle back for 1 second on the injury prone thing, because
Yeah.
Kaya's here, like the way that it's being phrased, and this is something that bothers me that we don't talk about enough. Like the way things are phrased in media is intentional,
Mhm.
and there's ways to say things that aren't accusatory, or it could be phrased in a way that are more, I want to say fair, but fair is not the right word, but like less
Loaded, like
inflaming.
less, yeah,
Yeah,
less
but that doesn't
yeah,
get clicks, right?
yeah.
So that is the way things are done. Like, and I wish people would start waking up a little bit faster to what is going on with legacy media right now, and the fact that, like, flat out, we probably shouldn't be paying attention to legacy
Yeah,
media. Like,
yeah.
it's just not worth it. It's really bad. But on the injury prone thing, it reminds me a little bit of people blaming Sammy Sallow for being injury prone when he got like bit by a snake. And I'm sure that's
Okay.
like a super old reference for Kaya too, even though she's a Canucks fan because Sammy Sell is forever ago now. But he was a guy who just, like, the laundry list of injuries that were so completely random. I've
Mhm.
never seen a guy have bad luck like Sammy Sallow. Like
Man, poor
everything on
guy.
his body. Like, but again, a lot of that stuff wouldn't say injury prone. And then Dustin Penner hurting himself eating pancakes, injury prone. That's injury prone. Like weird random events like a snake bite or falling on a skate blade, not injury prone. But
Yeah.
yes, hurting yourself eating pancakes, that is injury prone. Kaya
No,
says she
yeah.
saw his Sabi Salo's son play in the BCHL. That's fun.
Yeah, yeah. Also, sorry everybody, I was so caught up in my, terrible, no good, bad mood, that I completely forgot to say hello everybody to the chat. I'm so glad you guys are here. It would really suck to not have, our lovely, lovely, watchers slash listeners. Thank you so much for joining us, because this is, it's not a pleasant game. You don't always want to relive it. Ian Bover and I were talking a little bit on Blue Sky about how being a content creator after a game like this can be a little hard. And I think we're lucky that we have a chat that, you know, uh, interacts with us and, uh, kind of keeps us going because this would have been a hard game to keep energy on, or like a hard show to keep energy on. So thank you, everybody. We really love seeing you here. Also, Andrew, I do see you in the chat saying it's always Andrew's fault. Now, I'm not saying it, but I'm not saying it either, you know?
Always our fault. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is tough seeing
Mhm.
all the losses. That sucks.
Yeah. Let's talk about something good.
All right, should
And
we
I know
switch to the second segment here and we'll maybe
yes.
talk Marc-Andre Fleury a little?
Yes, yes.
All right, all right. First, before we do that, though, we got to tell you about Inchoo Bijoux. So, check out one of our sponsors. We are so excited to tell you about our new partner here at Game Over Montreal, a delightfully witchy goth and glam jewelry store making handcrafted art that varies from subtle silver to gold pieces to glamorous bespoke. Inchoo Bijoux is more than just a company. They've built a community through advocacy and a welcoming attitude that has made them an institution here in Montreal. Located in the historic Chateau Saint Ambroise, Inchoo Bijoux also runs seasonal themed markets called Maleficarum Market or Marché Maleficarum en français, where artisans from all over get together and showcase and sell their wares. Drop by 4000 Rue Saint Ambroise, Suite 278, and say hi to Astrid and the Wicked team. Or head to inchoobijou.com and enhance your style. The next Maleficarum market will be on the weekend of February 8th and 9th. We'll see you there. Now, let's get back to the show, but before you do, make sure you subscribe to Game Over Montreal, Game Over Network, and smash like on this video because it really helps us out. All right, we are back, and Kay is taking a sip, so maybe I'll just jump straight into Marc-Andre Fleury talk, if that's cool, because
Sure.
I have, like, maybe people will laugh at this, I don't know. I think Marc-Andre Fleury is, in a lot of ways, the ultimate, like, non-Montreal Canadian Quebecer in, like, NHL history. Not because he's, like, the greatest, because obviously there's, like, Mario Lemieux, Patrick Roy, whatever. I don't think Marc-Andre Fleury and his career are as great as, like, the win total is. Like, I think he is generally a little overrated. However, as a Quebecer, he always puts on a show in Montreal.
Yeah.
Always. And he's been incredible here his entire career. Except for when it counts. When it's against Montreal in the playoffs. And then
The
he's
Vegas
terrible. He's the Pittsburgh series
Ooh.
too. Terrible. Terrible.
Man.
So I must say, Marc-Andre Fleury, thank you. You've been a champion. It's been great watching you your whole career. You're a fantastic goaltender to watch. I think you have one of the most entertaining styles of the last, like, 30 plus years. And thanks for
Chaos.
doing your part in the playoffs when it actually counted.
Yeah, I think okay, so I'm not sure if I don't think a lot of people know this, but when I first got into hockey and I was still figuring out what team I wanted to be a fan of, obviously getting into hockey through the Golden Goal, I did, kind of follow Crosby back to Pittsburgh and just kind of, I wasn't full send on them, but I was looking around and I think it's so funny because I love Carey Price. I think, when I first started watching hockey, I was like, this guy is the best thing ever. And like at some points he was. But I remember like watching Flurry sometimes and being like, this guy's fun, you know? Like I think if nothing else, Marc-Andre Fleury is great at reminding us that like hockey's a game. And he's just having fun with it. He's not, you know, it's his job, so I'm sure he takes it seriously, but, like, uh, he seems to understand the role that he plays and how important it is as, like, a public figure. I think you have players who just kinda resent sometimes the fact that they have to be in the public eye, and I think if nothing else, like, Flower understands what he means to, like, the kids that watch him and, like, even, like, the adults who just wanna have some fun. Like, I think that's something really, really that I really appreciate about him. And something else I really appreciate about him is the meme, the Golden Knights meme with the
Okay.
sword through him that we got. Like, that's not Montreal specific, but, like, thank you, Alan Walsh, and therefore Marc-Andre Fleury. Which, by the way, I always find it funny when people are like, "Oh, it was his agent, it wasn't him." He pays his agent.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't think Alan's doing anything without, like, his permission. Now, do I think he maybe let, like, Fleury know that, like, "Oh, I'm about to post this exact photoshopped image of you. Yes or no?" But it stayed up, and so I'm assuming the flower was okay with it, which is
Yeah.
really funny.
I don't think there's any way in hell that he puts that out there without talking to
No,
Marc-Andre Fleury
absolutely
about it
not.
and showing it. So it 100% went through. And I always found that really funny that nobody ever connected that to Fleury, even though they were so angry about Alan Walsh doing it. But, like,
Yeah.
dude's acting on Fleury's behalf. Like, whether you like it or hate it, it definitely comes back to it. But on the topic of Fleury, how amazing was that ovation from the Montreal crowd? You know,
Man,
and
it
I
was
saw,
okay.
like, wild beat reporters on Blue Sky were talking about, like, there's no place like Montreal. And we kind of talked about this last time in the context of booing Mark Scheifele, right? That, like, we don't forget here. That's
No,
part of the
no.
thing, right? That's part of the culture is we do not let it go. If there's an injustice that we see and we feel like the person is not paying penance in any way or still refusing to admit it, it's not going to be let go. It's the same as Zdeno Chara, right? When he did the hit on Pacioretty that broke his neck, there are people on Blue Sky today were saying like, even though they don't like Max Pacioretty anymore, they're still going to boo Chara every time they see him,
Yeah.
even though he's retired, and that is Habs energy, right? It doesn't even matter anymore who it was on or whether or not you like that player anymore. You still suck. We're focused on your action. And I love that about Montreal. And just the level of passion for hockey here is just next level. And once again, the fans proved that tonight at the Bell Center.
Yeah, the only thing was I was like, "That's a little bit of odd timing for," but you know what I think happened there? I think that was a natural occurrence. Like, I think that was just the crowd made it happen, and therefore therefore that's when the kind of stoppage happened. Um, I think by the time the crowd was just looking for something good, and at that point they'd shifted the focus. There were a few chants, flower chants, which is always so, like, that must be special, man. To be, like, a non-Hab player being cheered by the Habs fans and, like, obviously being, from Quebec, like, it's gotta mean a lot to him, and if nothing else, I'm just glad that I know that he must value it. Like, I think, like, whether you I wonder that, like, so I'm not sure if you remember the Amazon Prime, like, broadcast. They do, like, a, question answer, like, fun little segment, like, I assume they do it on media day, and they air some segments between games when, it's an Amazon broadcast, and I remember one of them was asking, "What's the best arena to play in on the road?" And then, like, so many of the guys just said, "The Bell Center, the Bell Center, the Bell Center," and I think there's something, like, I don't wanna get, like, cheesy, but there's something, like, magical, about and, people say, "Oh, the Forum was where all the good things happened, and the Forum is, blah, blah, blah," but, like, it's the people. It's not even
Yeah.
first of all, the banners are there, which, like, which whatever what is it? I can't remember what team has, like, an insanely stupid banner, but we have real banners, guys. Um, it's a bunch of them. Bunch of them have insanely stupid banners, but we have real
Nashville's the
ones.
one that always gets made fun of the most, I think, because
Yes,
they have like a
yes, that
division
one.
championship one.
Yes, yeah. So, it's that, plus it's the people. It comes down to the love the city has for hockey, and, yeah, Kaya says Nashville, which correct. So yeah, I just kind of I love Flower, I'm not gonna lie. I was a little bit of a Grinch about it through the game where I was like, "Come on. Come on. Come on, guys, score. Score." But, like, at the end of the day, I think when you think about it from a bigger picture, it's a nice story. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't think kind of talking a little bit about the Habs specifically, um, I I think this series of games has been a little disappointing after the huge success that they showed, or that they were able to gain in the last little while, but, like you said, I think this is going to be about how they come out of this, um, because there's not a lot of wiggle room, Andrew, there's really not.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you've looked at the standings anytime recently, but, like, the Sens are suddenly winning, which, like, can they stop doing that? Uh, and it just sorry, my phone just went off, but, it they're gonna have to get it together if they wanna keep playing meaningful hockey, and like you said, we're gonna see who they are. Um, I think that it's realistically, I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't necessarily think that a team that gets it done by committee this much, they don't really have, like, one star who steps up all the time. Like, they do have Mr. Clutch and Suzuki and everything like that, but he's not, he's not like Connor McDavid. So I think when you're a team like that, you get things done by committee, and when your committee loses a player as important as Kaiden Guhle, I think things become a lot harder. I don't wanna be a doomer about it, but that's my honest assessment of things. But if nothing else, I want them fighting until the last, until the last breath. Now, this is kind of a little bit separate, but I saw the question earlier in my it was in the chat, but it was in my, Blue Sky, uh,
Feed.
mentions? I don't know. Yeah, in my feed, I saw somebody, kinda talk a little bit about it, about so where in your opinion, where do these guys sit by the trade deadline? Because I was convinced they were no longer sellers. I didn't think they were buyers either. I thought they might buy something that like is a long-term option, not necessarily like a short-term rental. But I didn't think they'd be buyers. But I wasn't sure they would be sellers either. I think at that point, selling would have also been a really bad like message to the group. Like, hey, you guys are doing so good. Here, we're gonna trade away Jake Evans, a guy who's so reliable for you guys. Um, but like, what's your kind of opinion on that?
I mean, I think I'll say what I said when I had Mike D'Souza on, because we touched on, like, what's the dream scenario at the trade deadline for the Montreal Canadiens, and at that point, it was 3 losses ago, or 4 losses ago, so it didn't feel as much of a far away thing as maybe it does this week. But I was saying, like, my dream scenario long term, not this trade deadline, is the Canadiens chase Sidney Crosby, because I think it would be amazing for both the Canadiens and hockey in general for
Mhm,
Sidney Crosby to end his career with the team that he grew up loving and like
mhm,
break that cup drought. I feel like it's just a story that would last forever, and I feel like
mhm.
he's a guy that will play until he's like 45, because
Yeah.
he just can. He's a hockey playing machine and just continue to be awesome. But this year, I don't really want them to do anything. I don't really
Mhm,
want them to add. If there's a hockey trade to make, as you mentioned, like long term, sure, make that. But there are a few things right now preventing me from wanting them to go all in. Number one, I just don't think it's in the window.
mhm,
Not until Demidov is established. That's the window. So I don't want them to waste any futures at this point. Let's figure out where pieces fit before we start moving them. But the other is, some of the things that were driving that little run of wins have disappeared. The power play is no longer automatic with Line A out there. And when you contrast Line A's power play performance with even strength, like in that third period where the Canadiens were going full send, trying to take this game and make it competitive against the Wild, almost everybody was on board and pushing things in a positive direction. But almost every puck touch from Line A was a
mhm,
disaster. Like,
mhm.
just awful. And I'm not
Thought
trying to
I
dog on
saw
him.
I thought I saw some like I don't know if you're saying he didn't seem to be okay. I'd like you to clarify. Are you saying like
Okay.
that you thought he wasn't like all right? Yes.
I think he's just behind the play right now. And I'm
Okay.
not saying that it's him not putting in effort or anything. We all knew that this is something that we were going to have to deal with Patrick Laine, because number one, he's never been a great even strength player, and he's
Mhm,
coming back from his extremely serious injury where he's still quite slow, and he is not adjusting that well outside of situations where he's able to just kind of sit stationary and find space. So on the
mhm,
power play, he's fine. He doesn't have to move a lot. But anytime he has to take part in the cycle or take part in a zone entry where he has to use acceleration or fight for a loose puck in the defensive zone, it is not great right now. And
yeah.
in that third period, there was a sequence in, I think, the Canadiens' defensive zone where he misplays the puck like 4 or 5 times in like 10, 15 seconds. And that is not reliable enough to depend on for a second line, right? I think Kirby Doc is
Yeah.
coming along. New Hook is kind of up and down. So there's just not enough for me to buy in
Yeah.
right now. But also, I am a little bit gun shy about selling just because of the message that it sends. Like,
That's
it
it.
would
Yeah.
suck to lose a guy like Jake Evans for nothing,
Mhm.
but
But maybe you don't. Maybe you don't lose hope.
yeah, I'm skeptical just because I do think in order to stay with Montreal, he's gonna have to take a pay cut in the
Yeah.
one moment in his career when he could make bank. And that's just a
Yeah.
tough thing to ask a guy to do.
100%. I would not blame him. I'm just, hoping against hope. Or I don't think it's completely outside the realm of possibility. Um, trade.
Ooh.
Andrew, you
All
seeing
right.
this?
Yes, let's shift to the Q&A and then we'll talk about this trade that
Yeah.
just happened. It wasn't a Montreal trade, so don't get
No, no,
too
guys. It
excited.
was
But
me talking about Jake Evans immediately going trade, which is usually the opposite of what I say. So it's a different situation. Let's move
yeah,
on
for
to
sure.
OT,
All
Andrew.
right, so before we do, I'll tell you guys about the Saint Motel here. We're just going to run the ad and then I'll QK in to start the Q&A and we'll talk about that trade. Looking to make awesome memories with your friends? Take some promotional pictures or videos for your business? Check out Le Saint Motel in Montreal's Sud-Ouest borough. It's an amazing selfie studio located in Montreal's historic Chateau Saint-Ambroise, right next to Inchoo Bijoux. It boasts 12 plus unique decors for you to enjoy and make memories with. Hop into their iconic heart-shaped ball pit or transport yourself back in time to Expo 67. Le Saint Motel can also come to you with mobile decor setups available to rent for events, including setup and takedown, or you can head to lesaintmotel.com right now for more details, or to check out their amazing decors that are always being updated. Now, let's get back to the show, but before you do, make sure you subscribe to Game Over Montreal, Game Over Network, and smash like on this video because it really helps us out. Thanks, me from last week. And yes, please smash like on this video, folks. It really does help us out. And we are all slaves to the algorithm of these mega corporations that host literally everything. So, yeah, please help us out. All right, Kay, break down this trade for us. What happened?
Okay. Sorry, I don't know. I brought this trade up and I am so scared of talking about it. So it is a trade mid-game uh between the Flames and the Flyers. Uh I have trouble reading. I have ADHD. Sorry, Andrew, it's taking me a second. Ooh, I see something from Jimmy Weesey also. We could talk about that a little later. Not a trade, not a trade, guys. Sorry, this is what happens when I allow myself a moment to look around. Could the chat let us know, guys? I don't know. I'm panicking. um, I'm seeing some reactions on the timeline. The funniest one being mid-game, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Yeah, I
Uh,
saw somebody saying that Pelche got traded and he was actually playing in the game, so it's like the Camilleri situation.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I believe he's pulled after the first. Kuzmenko was sorry, apparently scratched late, no explanation. So that's the theory, but I also saw someone say Morgan Frost. So this is a live look on how NHL trades break with the insiders, guys.
Frost was also playing and got pulled. That is so
No,
messy.
I don't know if that's it, if he got pulled, but I saw someone say that he's part of the return, question mark.
It can't be all of the return, right?
I
Because
can't no.
Pelche
Sources
and
say
Kuzmenko?
so Frank Saravelli, uh, but he has the
Oh, is there
information
anybody
here.
else?
I know, that's why I hesitated. Sources say Flowers and Flames are working on a trade involving forward Andrei Kuzmenko. Deal has not yet been agreed upon, but progress to the point where Kuzmenko has been held out of the Calgary lineup. Um, and still some moving parts of this deal involving bracket S players active in the game that hasn't ended yet. So there's a lot happening. Sounds like there's more than Darren Dreger says. Sounds like there's more than just one player between more than just player for player between Calgary and Philly. A more involved is what one source says. So I wonder how much the Hawks are retaining there and how much they don't know what's happening, which can we talk a little bit about how insane that was of them in the Rantanen trade to just not even ask what they were retaining of?
Well, hold on. I missed this.
No, you missed this. Oh my god, Andrew, this is hilarious. So, the Rantanen trade,
Yeah.
where not the Flyers, the Hawks were involved because they had to retain some salary from Rantanen, and get rid of Taylor Hall apparently, who loves leaving places. But so apparently they knew they were retaining salary. It was on a big name. They knew that too. They were not told who it was. And they just said, okay. So that incredibly hilarious. So yeah, that's my question. Who are the Flyers retaining on, and do they have the answer for that? Or who are
Oh
the
my god.
Hawks retaining on here?
You know, I remember, back when I was kind of first breaking into like trying to do this job, not this specific job, but working in hockey media. And one of the things that like was constantly thrown in your face when you were on like the analytics side of things was like, oh, you think you're smarter than like a GM or whatever, like this hockey guy. And yeah, I think I
Yeah.
do. Most of them,
Yeah.
like this entire league is such a mess. Like it's
Mhm.
stuff like this, stuff like the Evgeny Dadonov thing with Ottawa, where they like
Brother.
just didn't tell the team they traded to him that he has a no trade clause. Like it's so messy, and so much of it is just like, did you check this
Nobody is
box?
competent.
Yeah, it's such
Did you
ridiculous.
read it again? Did you read it a second time?
Seriously, read the whole email, please. It's like it's literally the same as working in like any corporate office, where it's like, can you send this email? And you're like, why don't you just send this email?
Yeah.
They're like, hit reply all on this and also start this thread. And you're like, can we please stop? Let's
There's this
just
great bit about how when you are talking to a man in an email as somebody who works in an office, you need to ask one question at a time. And I wonder if that's how GMs get like other GMs. Like, is the reason why Joe Sakic was so good at these trades because he was asking three questions in a row? And the second was the really important one. Like, is that what happened? Trinka asked, do
definitely
they still
could
work
be.
with fax machines? Which
Yeah.
also, yeah, that is insane.
I think they're starting to phase it out, but yeah, they are still working with fax machines. And Kaya brings up a good point. Kyle Davidson running the Hawks into the ground, and she loves him for it. Is Kyle Davidson actually the hero? He's just going to destroy the Hawks rebuild?
Inside agent. He was something for the Habs, right? He used to be something for us. That was a really funny way I could have said that. But he was a defense coach, I believe.
I
No,
don't
that
remember.
was no, that was their ex-coach. Sorry, my
Luke
bad.
Richardson. You're thinking Luke
Yes, that
Richardson.
was Luke. I got the Kyles and the Lukes confused.
Okay.
Y Kaya says that, the government still uses fax machines. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things that need to be modernized. Although now that I've seen all like the hacks that have happened recently with all the digital archives, like I don't know if you saw, I think it was like
Man.
the element there was like an elementary school board in Ontario, or like a school board in Ontario that got hacked, and it was like insane amounts of information for like thousands upon thousands of people. It was like from 1999 to this year. Like
Mhm.
everyone who had any contact with the school leaked their information. Like maybe we just do need to do old technology a little bit. Like
Maybe we
maybe
do need
we
to, yeah, rely on paper a little bit more.
yeah, just a little bit less digital, because it seems like nobody's actually interested in securing things. But anyway, we could probably end it
Sorry,
there.
I'd just like to really quickly touch on, because we love personally the Rangers' downfall, and we will be cheering it on.
Absolutely.
Uh, so Jimmy Reese gave a interview which he said, "I feel like I have no role or purpose with this team. I'm kind of dying by being here." So just gotta throw that out there, folks. We got some great stuff happening across the NHL.
Yikes. Didn't he kind of say similar in Toronto?
I don't remember that.
It was like,
I'm gonna choose to believe it was strictly the Rangers.
well, I mean, I don't mind bagging on Toronto either. But it was like
That's
in that
true.
documentary that they did, it was like him and Sheldon Keefe like just didn't see eye to eye. And there was like at one point in the documentary, he was like, "Yeah, I've been here like throughout training camp, and the coach hasn't talked to me yet." Like, oh damn.
Yeah,
That's
well, maybe
interesting.
at that point, sometimes it's, "Are you the problem?" But I think in this case, he might just be the whistleblower,
The
question
whistleblower.
mark?
He's just the guy who figures out that something's wrong. Yeah, absolutely enjoying the Rangers' downfall. That's great, and the Bruins' downfall as well. I know they're currently in a playoff position, but that team is a
They
mess.
have
And
games in
also,
hand, I believe.
yeah, and they also got rocked by Winnipeg tonight, which is great because that's great. Bruins,
I
take it.
hate
I love it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just becoming a hater, man. It's how I have to function. But yes, thank you everybody for letting us know about that. I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat. Um, gonna and Trinka says, "No, in Toronto, he was told by Dubas that he was playing too vanilla, or it was by Keefe."
I think it was
Yeah,
Keith.
yeah, that sounds about right. Um, yeah, I'm just to kind of go back to the Habs a little bit. I'm looking forward to this road trip. Like you said, I'm looking forward to seeing how they respond.
Hmm.
The refs sucked again today, not to bag on that, but they sucked
They
absolutely
do.
as per usual. And the Habs opponents seem to be absolute angels, which is really cool to see. And the Habs are just the worst, which I mean, I describe them like that all the time, but it it is what it is.
It is. All
Um,
right. When are we back on? I think we have a game on Saturday, correct? Or is it just the Sunday game?
no, it's Sunday, I believe, is the next game. I will be
Awesome.
on with Steven from the Mighty Ducks podcast. Um, or this is a terrible, it's Anaheim calling. Sorry, guys. And last time I had him on, people really seemed to enjoy his analysis, and I really enjoyed talking to him. So everybody be sure to stop by. It is an early game, so hopefully, we'll see something fun. It'll be versus the Ducks, so I'm hoping a little better outcome, but I'm not gonna take it for granted. I just know we'll have great conversations, so be sure to join us, everybody.
Yeah, and I think our buddy Conor Tomalty might want to jump on that one too, so we can have you set up with a 3-person panel for that 1K,
Oh,
which would be pretty
interesting.
fun. All right, we will see you then.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.